Well, light enough to film now. I'm well on my way in my last hike of 2024, the Blacktail Hills. No snow. I think the majority of the deer went way, way, way back up high again. So this is like a Hail Mary. Hail Mary morning. Just throw it out there and try. It's going crazy here. 4 days ago, there was 5 or 6 different bucks just going bonkers in this mountain. But I found a doe and a yearling yesterday. Nothing with them. So here's a migration trail right here, one of them. I'll follow this up. See if anybody might come down in the night. They're gonna meet me. Holy shit. What a morning. What a week. What a week. It's had one of those days that I absolutely love. Had a very, very special place here for me. I discovered this place, I don't know, 15, 18 years ago. It took a lot of work. It's really, really hard to get here. And it's never been logged. Below it's been logged a bit, way down below, but you can tell it's just stunning here, right? Nobody hunts here but me. Nobody climbs up here. And the snow's really been changing the deer's patterns the last few years. And usually it seems about maybe once every 5 years, the right doe matches up with the right buck. And then all of a sudden it gives up his presence to me. And that gets really, really exciting for me. And I obsess and I try to do everything right. And then I have my buck I want to go after. And this past week, there's been a handful of bucks showing up, but all little guys. Like the genetics are getting petered out or something, but it's not from predation. It's just when you try to find that real special once in a million deer. Doesn't happen very often. I think it's happened 4 times to me or something here, 5, but at least even when it happens once, you know it's going to happen again. Anyway, it just happened again. You know, I can't complain. I usually get a nice big buck. Last year I got a huge record book buck here with my bow. But I know they get quite a bit bigger. And I found a rub. I found a rub last week, and there's just something a little abnormal about it. And the footprints. I'm like, hold on a minute. This isn't really matching up with the bucks that I'm getting on my cameras. There's a couple nice bucks, but it just reached way too high. It just wasn't really matched up, and the footprints were huge. And doesn't matter how many trail cameras you have out, you will never get everything that's running around on your cameras. You just won't. So I threw a camera at the top of the mountain. Again, the top of my mountain here has been my go-to forever. If there's a monster buck around here, he will lay down on top of this hill. I don't know why, it's just what they do. So I hiked up here this morning from the bottom. Checked my cameras half a mile that way. Nothing. Saw a doe and a fawn yesterday about a mile down the bottom, way over there. But I have to come and check the top of the mountain anyway, because you just don't know when or if there's going to be one coming. So it snowed last night, just enough to cover your tracks, not enough to cover the whole ground. And I went up to the very top, no beds, no deer, no tracks. Checked the camera, nothing but me on it from yesterday. I went up another 100 yards and I checked the camera, and here is this absolute freaking monster of a black-tailed buck. Way bigger than last year's buck on the camera. It came down at 4 in the morning. For me, that is so exciting for me. I know it kind of sounds funny, but that's just like lightning through my soul. It's awesome. But the snow had gone in his tracks, so I couldn't track him. Not enough snow around down here, obviously, to track him. And I know there's no does in the hill for him to hook up and hang out up here. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I started circling around, doing little circles. Because I know he's not going to walk around in the daylight. Unless he's got a hot doe. And I know there's no doe in the hill. So I did a circle, I did another circle. I went on a big hike one way. Came back. I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave, but I got to do one more circle around the top again in case he snuck in from some direction. I just missed him. He laid down. If he didn't come and lay down right in the exact same bed as last year's monster buck, I just about fell over. I guess in this game, it's whoever moves first loses, right? And when they're laying down, their senses are on fire. They don't miss nothing. And I'm bumbling around. Guess he saw me, got up, slowly slipped off down the mountain to the south into the absolute nasty cliffs. Tangled up thick shit. You can't see 10 yards in it. And it's this light dusting here. I managed to track him for probably 400 yards, and he kept on going. So in one direction, it's obvious he was getting away from me. That's cool. That was a wicked moment for me. Lots of excitement. And now I know there's an absolute 1 in a million buck here. And I will. If I don't get him the next couple of days, only 2 days left, I think. 3. If I don't get him, I'll get him. I will get him next year. If he lives the winter, I'll get him next year, because now I know he's here. Now I know he's here, and he matches up perfectly with the tracks and the rub that I saw a couple days ago. Oh, that's so exciting. So much fun. So much fun. Finally, I get another absolute monster buck to stay focused on and try for. Love that. Love it. Now I got my GoPro going. This time everything's soaked. I got my GoPro working so the focus won't be off. Last year the focus on that other camera was of a Canon, and I can't tell if the focus is on. I guess I went off to the side of the view so you could see all the bush and everything behind me, but I guess that made the autofocus focus on the center, not me, and made it out of focus. Oh well. And then the B-roll with the lake, that was supposed to be at the beginning or end. It was on top of the video. Big screw up, and a bunch of people emailed me. Said, "Did you hear that noise at 6:58 or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was the B-roll," and Ruby was with me that day filming the lake, so whatever. All good. So, my day is over. I know it is, because the buck that I would want to harvest just went that way, where I can't get him. I don't want to scare him out of the country, so you got to know when to walk away. When to walk away, no matter what. I've done this game 100 times. My shirt is soaked. Soaked. Nothing to wipe my lenses off with. Man, that was fun. So much fun. I just don't know how he got around me on the top of this hill. How did he get around me? How did I not see him? Oh, I crowned the top of the sucker 3 times like a brain surgeon. Nothing. And then I went for a hike that way for about 30 minutes, and I came back, and he came out of nowhere and laid down right where I was, where I expected him to be. Lucky boy. Lucky boy so far. I don't know if he'll come back up to the top of this hill before I leave or not the next few days. So let's hear some voices, shall we? Holy, this is a long one. Really long. Okay, here I go. I don't know if I'll be able to sit here for too long, because I am wet. It's cold. This is titled The Usual. Hi. Please don't use my name. This is for your info. Just happened to reach out to the other folks. I'm a 51-year-old gal with a great husband and 2 teenage girls. We are science and finance professionals, and we are both awake. I happened upon your vlog this summer. I didn't clue into who you were until I saw a YouTube post you shot from Pemberton. You are that guide I heard about from a Whistler mountain bike tour guide a couple years ago. Oh yeah? I'm super pleased to see the outlet you're giving those of us who have had this experience. And I'm super pleased to relate to the struggle that any of us face who dare to question the narrative, so to speak. I have been swimming upstream against this for many years now. Thank God there are more and more of us waking up daily. No shit. I, like you, had an amazing role model in my grandfather, who I consider to be the most noble human being I've had the pleasure of knowing. He was a farmer from Saskatchewan and a first-generation Canadian whose family came from Norway. Oh, no shit. Same with mine. I'm of good, hearty stock, so to speak. He occasionally hunted for food and to keep unwanted critters away from his property. Family livestock. He loved animals, and every horse or dog I ever saw him near. Absolutely adored him. He would take the odd deer when he needed to. I never saw him fire a weapon, and his hunting days were over by the time I came into his life. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time with my papa and was lucky to absorb so much good from him. I always looked to him to figure out what to do when I need to figure something out, or to get me out of a jam if I ever find myself in one. His common sense has primarily helped me to avoid a lot of stuff I didn't need to get near. He would have been the first person I told about what I saw had he been alive. My husband reminds me of him in so many ways, and I'm grateful to have a partner who's also awake, thank God. I'm now in my 50s. I continue to ride my cousin's ranch and hunt in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and we have additional family sightings and experiences outside of mine. Here's my story. I should preface this by letting you know I have spent a lot of time between Prince Rupert, Prince George, Mackenzie, and Edmonton, all the way down to the southern border on both provinces. I dated a guy from Prince George, and although I was never licensed, can fire a gun, fly a fish, and love spending time in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. I've seen so much game from mid-mountain down to roadside, spotting stuff is not an issue. Camera still working? For my former career, I drove a lot between all these communities, usually alone, and due to deer and elk and moose being so close to the highway and having had to dodge a few on the road, I'm always looking out for them, especially if I'm riding shotgun. I also spend a lot of time at drive-in fishing lodges around BC, blown and changed tires, and been very cognizant of the property boundaries of these lodges and other landmarks just in case. Just be ready is how I like to roll. I also have driven to and skied a ton of ski resorts around BC and Alberta. Lucky me. I used to love to camp and just hit the road with my tent and some buddies and head out. We had an annual girls' fall camping trip to the Chilliwack Lake area every year. Now this took place December 27th, 2011 at around 3:45 p.m. My husband and I were driving to go skiing at Silver Star from our home in the Lower Mainland. Our daughters, 6 and 4, were in the back either asleep or watching a kids' show. We were approaching or at Pennask Summit on the Connector, Pennask. It had been a clear day, good road conditions, and lots of snow on the hillsides. At that point in the road, the slopes were steep and snow-covered. The trees were skinny lodgepole type of pines and quite sparse. There were large runs of snow in between the tree patches. I was riding shotgun and watching my side of the road, and at about 2 o'clock position, I saw a tree in the middle of a wide snow-filled clearing. I thought that was weird, as we were closing in on it. I could see the tree was moving uphill about halfway from the highway to the top of the slope. I would say maybe midway between 300 to 400 feet total. By the time we were getting close enough that I could confirm it was on the move uphill, my mind started to go ballistic. Number 1, why was the tree marching uphill? Number 2, my animal Rolodex is not working. Moose? No. Elk? Nope. Deer? No, too big. On 4 legs? Sorry, not on 4 legs. Moving. Walking. Dark brown, wide lodgepole pine on 2 legs going uphill. What the F? By this time, we were alongside it, going by it at 100K, and it was about 200 to 300 feet away from me. Number 3, I could see the large moving tree had shoulders, and the hair on its shoulders would move every time it put its weight down on its foot. The air was dark and bounced like a cedar bough does in the breeze. That's the best way I can describe it. Its arms were slightly swaying, and it looked at ease going up this fairly steep bank. A human would be on all fours, scrambling, not to mention wading through the snow. On this thing, the snow was up to its knees. It didn't look back at the road, it just kept moving up to the ridgeline. That was it. I had a really good view for about 3 to 5 seconds, and half of that was taken up by my brain telling me that that wasn't what I was seeing. After that, I turned around and looked at my husband and girls and looked ahead. It totally didn't register. Minutes later, we were in an almost whiteout. The light was fading fast and had come to complete stop as a car was being pulled out of the ditch. To this day, I wonder if the older couple inside had seen the thing cross in front of them. They were in a Subaru and didn't look like the type to be driving too fast. Who knows? We continued our vacation, and I put this out of my mind until August 2015. I didn't think about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, anything. I guess I remotely thought they were plausible as some kind of unknown species that was in the high alpine, coastal BC to Northern California, and that was it. In late July, before the Canada long weekend, we were at my father-in-law's place in Lake Ontario. We were about halfway between Peterborough and Ottawa. The cottage is raised with a basement that turns into a walkout lakeside. And in the back of the cottage, the midline of the bedroom window would be roughly 1.5 stories instead of 2 on the lakeside. It was a full moon, and my daughter and I were sleeping in the back bedroom. It was around 1 or 2 a.m. My daughter was 8. It was hot. The window was wide open, screened, and had horizontal blinds which were closed. The moon was very bright and still on our side of the cottage, so you could see the bedroom quite well. My daughter was sleeping on the window side of the bed. I could not settle, but attributed that to time change. I'd fall asleep and wake up steadily. I finally was awakened from a good sleep and looked around the room. I could see a silhouette of a big, round head and shoulders in our window. I put my arm around my daughter, but couldn't move. I couldn't speak, and I promptly fell back asleep. I woke up around 8 a.m. and all was good. I got up, got on with my day. And on the last day at the cottage, I went for a walk around the back bedroom side. Backs up against the forest and a cleared area of the property, as well as the property line of an old hedge. Behind the high hedge was the neighbor's property, overgrown grass and a beautiful vegetable garden with deer fencing that the neighbor's son-in-law had put in for the summer. I could see a pretty well-worn path between the two properties, and where something had been walking through the two places. My father-in-law had cut the lawn short since the late evening incident that day before I went behind the house to check things out. Couldn't see any tracks in the property. However, the midline of that bedroom window would be about 8 feet off the ground. As neighbors do, the visiting between the two properties was done on the shoreline at the front of the cottages, not in the back, as there was no access to the cottage on that side of it. What I'm trying to say is that people were not going back and forth at the back of the properties. The path was about 4 to 5 feet wide. A dog would be narrow, so it was either game or something bigger. By the time I got home, I was having trouble sleeping, and suddenly, this Bigfoot thing was on my mind. I started to look up sightings in BC, and it never occurred to me that I saw anything either time. Then I started to get this feeling that I needed to report my sighting in BC, and I couldn't even process the Ontario experience. I looked up people to report to. And, good or bad, I found blank blank. I called him up and left him a message, kind of feeling like you would if you had seen a crime and were calling it Crime Stoppers. And he called me back within a couple of hours and asked my questionnaire about my sighting. And as I went through it, I had this feeling growing wanting to vomit. Like someone saying these things are reported regularly in that area, and it was likely completely blew my mind. It was like seeing a fairy tale and not a good one. I didn't want him to know my name. Just take the info and leave me alone. And by the way, where'd you say these things are? I pretty much went full PTSD for 2 solid years after that. I wanted to know where these effers were, and was it possible they were anywhere near my beloved Sea to Sky country? What the F? I called Dr. Bendernagel and talked to him before it became public that he was ill. Lovely human being. I talked to the guy who responded in the comments section to the Peak article on the Sasquatch that you replied to, and that talked about your trail builder friend. My mind was blown. I would sit at my girlfriend's place at Alpine Meadows and look across the valley at Wedge, and where comfortably numb runs and just freak out. On my own with my small network of co-experiencers on a huge level of freak out, no way I would walk on that trail again in that valley. No way was I going off. Pissed? No way when that gray son of a bitch was just there hanging out with his family or tribe or whatever. I felt like my whole forest experience had been taken away from me. And there's no way in hell I was going to let my girls out there to run wild like I had. Plus, I was awake and dealing with all that. I also need to know how all of this was correlated, because we know it is. I've since calmed down, perhaps taking solace that I'm not going nuts and more of us are waking up to the big world around us. It's all a part of a much bigger story. It is an amazing time to be alive, and I can feel my papa telling me to keep moving. Be wise and brave, carry on. Help others do the same, and be prepared for anything. I totally follow your line of questioning, and based on my cottage experience, these things are no animal. You know when you see an animal. What I saw in the connector was not an animal. With horses, I lay my hands on and deal with large animals many days of the week. Big, large animals that don't make you feel weird. I played supposed calls from a big Labrador, and he ain't afraid of much, and he totally flips out to some of these calls. I'm happy to tell you that I have a backcountry trail ride planned with my cousins and daughter next year. BC or Alberta, we don't care. As well know these things are everywhere and can't be avoided. We can all ride and we're pretty tough, just need to find the right outfitter. Please feel free to share any recommendations. I'm finding ways to take back my nature and share it with my daughter and family again. They are my strength, and with them I can reclaim my rights here. In many ways, shapes, and forms. Best to you in your current hunt and safe travels. Thank you again for reaching out to all of us. TL. Well, that's a great email. I saw a YouTube post you shot from Pemberton. You are that guy I heard about from a Whistler mountain bike. Oh. I wonder what he had to say about me. So could have been in the neighborhood, Sea to Sky, where I am in the Sea to Sky currently. It's either that asshole that was killing all the wolves, or the guy that talks out loud about Bigfoot, or that hunting guy. They're all three above, right? There you go. Well, I hope me leading by example, showing everyone to make sure you do what you love to do no matter what. No matter what you do, what you love to do. Like where I am right now, I found a footprint on the top of this hill 7 years ago. Blatant, right there in the sand, in the dirt where this uprooted tree blew over, and there was some soft dirt right there. You could hear the busy highway way down below, maybe. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera or not. You can't avoid it. You could go up to the top of the Alpine, you're still going to hear vehicles miles away down the bottom of the valley. It's crazy. But they're here. When? Whenever they want. Year round? Yep. They leave me alone? For the most part. I've seen weird lights up here. But I'm still here. That's what I'm trying to get at, I guess. I'm still doing it, right? I make sure I do what I love to do, no matter what. You know, this lifetime is very, very short. Sometimes I'm conflicted with some of the things I spend time of life looking into. Whereas a comment I heard a week ago was, you know, don't be too concerned about possibly the afterlife or something else that's going on around us, because we'll find out about that soon enough. Without a doubt, every single one of us is going to find out about that directly soon enough. And I think about that statement fairly often when I catch myself losing time, maybe get a little emotional about some topics that are out of my control, but I want to know about. And then I try to wonder if, should I be wondering about that right now? Should I just concentrate on all this beautiful, everything's beautiful. Like right here for me, right here, my world is complete right here. It's absolutely stunning, beautiful. I'm free, I'm healthy. I get to see it and smell it. It feels awesome. But there's the other part of me that it really, really bothers me that not everybody gets to experience this level of joy and happiness because of dark people that are affecting their lives. And that's where I am conflicted with my lot of me wants to fight and make it better for others. A lot of me wants to help others. Can't stop myself. And then there's another part of me that makes sure I'm going to experience as much of what I love to do as possible. So that's the conflict for me. And that's probably why I normally slip off into discovering truth, you know, and then sharing it so that people can do with it what they want or leave it. I guess I could just possibly keep going, live and lead by example, encourage people and help people when I can. Right? And if a great big buck went behind me, too bad there wasn't a speaker for you guys to tell me, but anyway, I got to get moving. I'm absolutely soaked through. Not good. So, it's Friday the 13th too. So if I actually had some kind of a freaky weird accident, I wouldn't last too long. Although I do have a lighter, always, but anyway. As soon as I get to this point, if I'm wet, every step I take is absolutely deliberate. Because I'm by myself all the time, right? 99% of the time out here I'm by myself. And one more quick note I'll throw in here. Yesterday, I was at the top of the mountain, and you can see what the ground's like. I'm looking everywhere. I'm like, where the hell did my arrows go from the other day, a few days back? I had that unfortunate moment. And I'm sitting just like this. I'll share the video up here. I'm sitting here for about 20 minutes just sitting watching down the mountain. And I look right beside me, and boom, one of my arrows is in the tree right beside me. I just about fell over backwards. "20 minutes I sat there like this, that arrow right beside me. I unscrewed the tip, then pulled the arrow out. But you imagine not seeing that sucker, and if I fell on it, you know, like down your arm or something, or your armpit where that artery is? Not good. So I'm glad I found that one. I know the other ones went into the ground. I'm glad I found that one. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Make sure you get your truth out, all right? What else? Christmas. Don't forget, I'm going live on Christmas Day. For all of those who think they're by themselves, I'm going to show you that you're not. We're going to hang out on Christmas live. All right? Just so you know. Be there, be square. And what else? As soon as I get home from here as well, we are going to see if we can... I told Sarah, I go, find me more hungry kids. She's like, huh? We got time. I want you to try to find me another handful before the end of this month, before we go on our holiday. So that's what we'll be doing as well when I get back. We're gonna go get a bunch of little Tommies topped right up, and add them on to our grand total. Isn't it stunning in here? All right, here we go. Man, I cannot believe I didn't get that deer today. Crazy. I will get him. Be back later.